Welcome to the Darkstream, VoxDay, voxday.net, and unauthorized.tv. Trying to figure out how to get into the chat here. And oh, there we go. Very good. So we are rolling, and I don't know about you, but I am having a very good day. First of all, thanks to everybody who made the Hypergamouse and Sigma game the crowdfund a success. That was really good. Jacob Kalsi is here. That is funny. If that's your real last name, I am gonna laugh. Anyhow, yeah, in fact, I just got an email here saying your project has been successfully funded, and 869 backers, just short of 118,000. We're gonna hit it rolling. We're already working on, we've already got the covers just about done. I need to wrap up my intro, but that is a matter of, an hour. I'm already mostly done with it. Lacey's done hers. And so we're probably going to shock a few backers who are used to having to wait years for Castalia to finish some of the stuff that they're doing. In fact, Narcelio is going to finish off those last two issues of Alt Hero that will allow us to finally finish meeting our obligation on that particular volume. It is not. It was a takeoff on the author. Well, Finland's greatest science fiction author no doubt appreciates the homage. So I have very little planned to discuss tonight. I've been paying almost no attention to anything going on in the world, as you can probably tell from the blog. Today was a busier day than I expected. As you are probably aware, we made the public launch of the Castalia Library Thanksgiving Day sale, and very excited to see how well that's gone. We did have a 2-day secret sale that was only available to the subscribers, who of course snapped up all of the books that had, I think 13 or fewer copies available. So obviously we always, I don't apologize for that. We always put the subscribers first. They're the people who, support every month. They're always there. They keep it going. The subscribers, just to be clear, just like with unauthorized, the subscribers are the engine. When I describe these projects as community projects, I'm not just, trying to sound like Taylor Swift talking about the fans or anything like that. It's what is necessary. I mean, it's as necessary as the paper that the books are printed on, or the goats that the leather is acquired from. So anyhow, but on the first public day, we've already completely blown away last year's sale. And so that's a really good sign. It's good to see that people are taking advantage. And that's why we open it up to non-subscribers, because we want non-subscribers to be able to see exactly what the books are, buy a few of them. Ironic Keyboard says, please don't name us Voxies. I can assure you that you're the first person to think of that. You guys already have your names, the vile faceless minions know who they are. There's the Dread Elk. etc., etc. Yeah, it's not NPR. Without the community, it doesn't happen. That's absolutely true. Some of you were here on the Darkstream the very first time that we threw the idea out there. And, pretty soon, the Book Talk channel is going to launch, and more and more people are discovering what we do. And it's been very gratifying to see the way that people compare our stuff directly to Folio Society. They compare it directly to Easton Press and generally find that ours are of a superior quality. And that's something that we're committed to doing, committed to improving. But we do have some excess books in the warehouse. That's a result of errors on my part, getting a little ambitious, thinking that things were going to proceed as they had already proceeded. It's also from things that were completely beyond our control. One of the things that we do, and one of the reasons why we're slow about getting stuff out and that sort of thing, is because we're careful about not just doing it right, but also being conservative in how we do it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We have two very large machines that are essentially useless pieces of metal. Why did we take the risk? Well, we bought three machines, three very big machines, three very old machines. One of the machines works and works beautifully. The other two don't work at all. And you might say, well, why on earth would you waste, 16,000, actually, why would you waste $30,000 on these machines knowing that there's a chance that they might not work? Well, the answer is pretty simple. One of those machines alone, even a reasonably new one, is at least $250,000 for one. So even though two of them didn't work out for us, one of them did. So yeah, we have these large machines that one of them we can get fixed and can eventually use. One of them we just have literally no need for. But we saved what, $220,000. We have the capacity for something that would have cost $220,000 more just for that. You have to take those risks. You have to take those chances in order to get those kind of rewards. But we do these things cautiously, and so that's why we don't. The amount of books we have in the warehouse compared to the books that Folio and Easton and stuff have in theirs is comical. I mean, we're talking like 2 to 3% of what they have, which is great because we don't incur the massive costs that they do. Akabear says, I appreciate doing everything yourself over white labeled corporate products. Well, that's how you get quality. If you're going to, the big companies, even the mid-sized companies, are run by accountants that are constantly saying, hey, what if we got rid of this nice paper that we use and we got this paper that's almost as good, but it's half the cost? What if we use this fake leather instead of the real leather? What if we did this? What if we did that? And they don't, the thing is, if you look at the prices, they don't pass it on to you. Forget if you look at our sales price, just as a exercise, take a look at the sales prices of the 14 books we put on sale. Compare both the number of books that we put on sale with the prices that Folio Society is charging. They're not even leather books. Their paper is cheaper than ours. You can't really even compare the books, and yet our sales prices are, you know, comparable to their regular hardcovers. And that's an objective. You know, we want our stuff to be an absolute no-brainer better, because the pursuit of excellence is its own reward. You know, that's either you accept and embrace that philosophy or you don't. I mean, you know, I don't lack for anything. I'm very, very comfortable. But at the end of the day, I mean, if I've got 6 black t-shirts and 2 pairs of jeans that don't have holes that are too big in them, I have to admit Space Bunny she's actually threatened to throw away, I think 2 of my 4 pairs of blue jeans, because basically there's more knee hole than there is jean leg at this point in time. I think it was a time when I was pulling them on and actually like put my feet through both holes that she was like, you really need some new jeans. Ironic Keyboard says the Castalia Library books are eye turners. In a room full of books, they get noticed frequently. Yeah, that's the objective. I mean, the funny thing is that they get so noticed in some ways. We're trying to tone it down just a little bit with the history books, because those putting that great logo on the spine, it just, you know, if you look at the books behind me, they tend to stand out a bit too much. You know, they don't, and so we're like, okay, let's tone that down a little bit. But you know, it's such a fun project to have. I have to say it's one of the most rewarding that I've ever been involved with, which is, and I think most of the people on the team tend to feel that way. There's just something nice about actually producing physical objects. Most of my career I've been involved in creating ephemera, which it can be fun, certainly, but at the end of the day, what do you have? Powers of Bear. Someone told me recently that my wallet falling out of a hole in my pocket meant that I needed new jeans. See, that's not true, because you got 2 pockets. You know, just stick it in the other one. It's when I don't think any. No, that's not true, because I did buy 2 pairs of new shorts last fall. Or was it the spring? No, maybe it was the spring. Probably the spring. But I think that most of my shorts have holes in at least one pocket, and it's really annoying when they get holes in the second one, because then you're like, where do I put my keys? But say la vie. Anyhow, it's a good night, because not only is the sale going well, not only did the Hypergamouse campaign on Kickstarter conclude successfully, but the Dorking Wanderers won 7-1 tonight, which hopefully they're fully back on track. And it was very cool, because the team that they absolutely thrashed at the other team's place was actually the team in first place as recently as 3 weeks ago. So that was definitely encouraging. And of course, the Vikes, they tried to give it away to the Bears. I was admittedly kind of going nuts. If you're winning, what was it? You know, they were up by 11 with about 2 minutes left, and somehow they ended up giving up an onside kick, giving up a score, an onside kick, another score, and letting it go to overtime, which was maddening. But you know, they closed it down, so can't complain too much. Although I don't know if anybody's gonna catch Detroit this year. They do look pretty ferocious. Anyhow, on the current news front, not really a lot today, other than as you noted on the blog, There's the U.S. is putting missile bases on some Japanese-controlled islands, as well as on the in the Philippines, and so uh, I have no idea what they're trying to accomplish. Um, we're going to do this soon. This naval war analysis, but I see absolutely no prospect for the U.S. being able to maintain its influence in Asia. I mean, none whatsoever. They'll be lucky. The USA will be lucky to maintain its influence in Europe at this point. I mean, I understand why they feel that they need to try to maintain their influence in Asia, because if Taiwan goes, Japan goes, and if Japan goes, nobody's got any time for the U.S. in Asia at that point. Um, these are the new realities, and every empire, well, I shouldn't say every, most empires do have a tendency to engage in imperial overstretch at some point in time. Just today, the selection from the Cambridge Medieval History on the Castalia Library Substack talks about how the Romans became second-class citizens in Gaul. They actually had to turn over about two-thirds of their land properties. The private people had to turn over two-thirds of them to the Goths, and the Romans had to continue paying taxes, but the Goths didn't. And so, these were people being dispossessed in their own empire. Now, granted, uh, you know, Caesar conquered Gaul, so, um, but this is a normal progression. This is a historical progression. It's part of the pattern that has always existed, and so, um, the U.S. is now getting to that point. Obviously, the heritage Americans, the real Americans, are being displaced throughout the United States. Um, and at the same time, the imperial abilities, the imperial capabilities are considerably contracting in a military context. Kontiki says France and UK discussing sending troops to Ukraine. That's totally irrelevant. I mean, it's absolutely irrelevant. I have no idea. I mean, the only reason that France and the UK are discussing it is because uh, the US will need the Europeans to send troops there if the US is going to send more troops. But the US can't send more troops. They won't be able to, because the Russians are not going to permit the American military transports to transit the ocean. the the hypersonic missiles that they have are not only capable of taking out warships, they're very, very capable of taking out the jumped up civilian craft that soldiers would get transported in. And you can't fly in enough. Excuse me. I mean, the scale. One of the things that's frustrating about listening to people talk about the Ukrainian war in the media is that they have absolutely no understanding of the scale that the battles are taking place at. The United States has never, ever in its history, with the partial exception of the Civil War, ever fought battles on the scale that they're fought over there. They just haven't. You can look it up. It's all that right there on Wikipedia or any other military history that keeps track of the numbers. Um, you know the entire British Army. Can someone look up? Someone fire up Wikipedia, or here, I'll just do it here. Let's fire up what. Let's go to wikipedia.org. Okay, so British I guess I turned off my, sorry, I turned off my audio. I just did the math, and there are 74,296 soldiers in the British Army. And if you look at the current casualty rate that the Ukrainians are experiencing, it's about 1350 per day, because of the mostly because of the Kursk center. Yeah, it's right when I went to Wikipedia. So anyhow, if the entire British Army stood and fought to the last man against the Russians, it would last 55 days. Now that's not going to happen, because typically an army becomes incapable of fighting and just goes into full route retreat mode after it loses 30% of its forces. So 74,296 times 0.3 divided by 1350. The British Army would almost certainly be comprehensively defeated and rendered hors de combat within 16 days by the Russians. Pillow Vendor says they probably couldn't take on North Korea and Ukraine now. No, probably not. I mean, sure, if they sent their entire army over there and their entire army was allowed to peacefully transit over there, which I don't think would happen. It's possible, but the Russians have thus far proven very reluctant to do any strikes outside of Ukraine proper. But if troops are sent in, I mean, that's full-blown war. And I mean, it's totally absurd. It's obviously just an attempt to get stuck in. I mean, it's the same strategy that the Israelis have. Although the Israelis have been reluctant to fully embrace it because they have a pretty good idea that Uncle Sam isn't coming. The idea is attack, get stuck, get in trouble, and cry for help. But what they're forgetting, because of course they're strategically inept, is that the United States is in no shape to be able to help them. So anyhow, that's my take on today's latest events. France is 270,000. France is much more viable, always has been in terms of that, but the French have zero desire to fight the Russians. When the French fight the Russians end up on the doorsteps of Paris. And anyhow, I don't see it happening. To be honest, most of the French who are in the military are probably more interested in marching on Paris against Macron than they are in trying to fight the Russians in Ukraine. I could be wrong, but that's my perspective. And I do know a few French folks who have expressed those sorts of sentiments. So anyhow, I have something interesting. Well, some of you will find this interesting. Some of you may not. But I have been, as you know, I'm in the top 1% of all Suno producers. Yes, I do think Trump will make it to the inauguration. I think there's some crazy, funny stuff going on that I think is going to surprise all of us. But I think that Trump will be there one way or the other.